Welcome to the Billionaire Belief Show. This is your host, Dhane Diesil. I want to thank you for tuning in. As always, before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video. Also, make sure you join the mailing list so you can get the free video seminar about the fundamentals of personal finance that will allow you and help you to build wealth from scratch. Today's show, we're going to be talking about your credit score matters. Quick story. This weekend, Memorial Day, I was chopping it up with some fam, and they're kind of in the process of trying to get us some new housing. So we were chopping it up, and they expressed that credit was one of the main factors that was keeping them from getting a place to stay. So then I'm kind of like start probing and asking, well, what's your credit score? What's on your credit report? Yada, yada, yada. And unfortunately, the response was, I don't know. I don't care. I ain't never looked at a credit report. I don't even know what's on my credit report. What is the credit score? Just a lot of basic questions. And, that just let me know that there's still a lot of work to do. Now, mind you, this individual wasn't fresh out of college, fresh out of high school, multiple children. But nevertheless, that conversation just let me know that, there's still tons of there's still a lot of work to be done. And more than likely, you're having an issue with credit, understanding why it matters, why it's important, and what it's used for. So today, I just want to take a little bit of time to kind of give you a brief overview of, what this whole credit situation is about, so that you can make it easy on yourself to make the major purchases that you are going to have to make throughout your lifetime. So with that being said, your credit matters, fundamentals of credit. Let's dive right in. Your credit score matters. Like I said, the fundamentals of credit. So what is a credit score? I asked this individual, what is a credit score? Do you know what a credit score is? What it's used for? I don't know. That was really what their response is. And understandably, for a lot of people, there was a point in time, me included, where, I definitely heard of credit, but, I didn't necessarily know what it was. I knew it was important, but I didn't necessarily know how to build it. So like most young college students, I kind of messed some things up. But all in all, what is a credit score? As it states here, your credit score is basically an indicator of credit worthiness. So your credit scores allow creditors, people that you want to borrow money from, it gives them the ability to see, if you are somebody they can depend on to pay them back. Are you somebody they can depend on to pay their bills? Like, that's ultimately what your credit score represents. True story. I was on social media the other day, and I came across a story about a gentleman who was married to a second wife. His first wife moved out of state, and she had the kids. He had a good job, yada, yada, yada. Always had cash to pay for things. And so he did. Unfortunately, he hit a rough spot, lost his job. Then eventually his car went out on him. So he needs to get a new car. However, when he went to the dealership, they basically told him that he didn't qualify for a car loan because he had no credit history. To which his response was, well, I've always paid cash for everything. And, I always have cash. I have the cash. I just need some help to get this car. I need a loan. But unfortunately, because he didn't have a credit history, there was no way for the car dealership to see his credit worthiness on a piece of paper. There was no numerical expression for the car dealership to find out, can this man pay his bills back? Because at the end of the day, they don't care about your word. Creditors don't care about your word. They don't care if you have cash. Albeit cash is king. When it comes to paperwork, what's on that paper matters. It's all that they're going off of. So if you have no credit history, hence you have no credit score, or you have a low credit score due to a no credit history, then it will be more challenging. It'll be difficult for you to, make major purchases. So unfortunately, he wasn't able to get the car because he didn't have a credit history. So he went to his wife to ask her if she can co-sign for him. She didn't. So he went to his first wife and asked her if she can co-sign for him, and she did. So that's a whole nother story. He created a whole nother mess. But the reason why I said that story was because I just want to share what can happen, what kind of mess you can get yourself into if you don't have a credit score and a credit history and a credit and good marks on your credit report. So this man created a whole mess between his current wife and his previous wife solely because he paid cash his whole life, and whether he was unwilling to or ignorant to the fact of how important credit was, he just didn't build his credit throughout his adult life. Hence, he created a big mess for himself that he's going to have to figure out. So once again, your credit score is a numerical expression that represents your credit worthiness. Can you pay your bills back? What is your history of paying people back? Do you have one? That's why your credit score is important. That's what a credit score is. Once again, it's just a numerical expression of your ability to pay your bills. And that number represents, okay, this person pays bills or they don't. So the credit system, how does it work? So basically, as it says, you at the top of the pyramid, and to the left, you have creditors, and to the right, you have the bureaus. So once again, you as an individual, you are a key part of this system because you're the one that's going out to get credit and to get credit cards as well as other forms of credit and loans that will then be reported to the bureaus by your creditors. Creditors being the people who are loaning you money, or employers, people like that. And then obviously the bureaus is where you're allowed to see what your credit scores are, as well as what the creditors report your information to the bureaus. So here's how it works. You want to buy a car. So what will happen is when you go to a dealership to get financing, or your credit union, the creditors, the people who own your money, they're going to do an inquiry to see what's on your credit report through the credit bureaus. And based upon what these credit bureaus say about you, that's going to determine the decision they're going to make as to whether or not they will finance you, or give you the job, or give you the apartment, or give you the mortgage. So that's how the credit system works. It's basically three core individuals, or three core entities: you, your creditors, and the bureaus. Now, the bureaus, there's three main bureaus. There's other bureaus, but the three main bureaus that you will always hear about is Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Once again, these bureaus, going back to the previous slide, these three bureaus, these are the individuals, these are the people who are collecting, recording, and distributing information about your credit habits. So these are the people that your creditors are reporting. Yeah, he or she paid their bills last month. He or she paid their bills last month. Oh, he or she, they 30 days late. Up, they 60 days late. Up, we done sent this to collections. We don't want to have anything. We don't want to have anything to do with them. So that's what the credit bureaus do. The Equifaxes, the TransUnion, and the Experian. They're ultimately just collecting information from creditors. Now, here's the caveat. Every creditor doesn't report your credit habits to every credit bureau. So you will have some creditors that only report to Equifax. You'll have some that only report to TransUnion, and you will have some that only report to Experian. And then you will have some that will report to all. So you need to understand that, because when you are going out into the world trying to get apartments, mortgages, car loans, appliances, things like that, jobs, you need to ask, what credit bureaus that they tap into, so you can have a better understanding of which scores they're going to be looking at and which credit profiles they're going to be looking at, so you can get your ducks in a row if need be. So with that being said, why is credit important? Like I kind of alluded to before, the higher your scores, the easier it will be to make major purchases. For example, a home. We all need a place to live. We all need a safe and secure place to lay our head and store our possessions. So the higher your credit score, the easier it's going to be for you to get that apartment or get that mortgage so you can buy that house. Same thing for cars. The higher your score, the easier it's going to be for you to get that loan, as well as the terms for that loan. You're going to get charged less interest if the higher your score is. For appliances, you need that washer, that dryer, that fridge. I'm quote unquote bougie like that. I like to wash my clothes at my house. So I need to be able to have the credit to make major purchases so that I can live the lifestyle that I want to. And the same applies to you. If you value living, if you value having a roof over your head, clothes on your back, dependable and reliable appliances, the fridge to keep your food cold, washer and dryer to keep your clothes clean, a car to get you to and from work, as well as wherever you want to be. If those are the types of things that you value, then you're gonna have to understand your credit score matters. So you're gonna have to pay your bills back. As it says right here to the right, credit score ranges excellent, obviously between 780 and 850, very good, 740 to 749. Once it says if you have the 780 to 850, you qualify for the best interest rates. However, when we go to a credit score less than 520, yes, people have credit scores less than 520. You're facing extreme credit issues. 520 to 579, very poor. You have several credit issues, unlikely to qualify for any loan. So like you said, the lower your scores, the more unlikely you are to qualify for the things that you need in order to survive. So that's why your credit is important. If you really value being able to have a place to live, have a car to drive, and have the appliances in your house to make sure your clothes stay clean, your food stays closed, and your food stays cold, then you're gonna have to make sure you get this credit on point. So how are your credit scores calculated? As you can see, the two biggest factors are your payment history, i.e., did you pay your bills this month, as well as the amounts owed. So how much credit do you have? So for example, if you have a credit card that has $1,000 limit on it, how much have you spent up? Now, ideally, you only want to spend about 35% of your limit. So if all the credits you have, all the credit lines you have available, for example, is $1,000, you don't want that really to go over $350. That's how you're gonna make sure you keep your scores high. But some of the other factors, the length of your credit history, new credit, and then your credit mix. So credit mix being the difference between charge account, educational accounts, mortgages. So a charge account being something like a credit card, educational account being something like a student loan, and then I forgot what it was called, but a mortgage. It's a specific type. I can't think of the name on the top of my head, but your credit mix is 10% new credit. So obviously new accounts that you've opened, the length of your credit history, how long have your accounts been open? 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. I have my grandparents, they have credit accounts that have been open for well over 50 years. So that contributes to 15% of their credit. But most importantly, paying your bills and not spending up your credit. Those are the two major components that factor into how your credit score is calculated. So if we go back to the credit score ranges, look at this chart here. If you know what your credit scores are, or what where you fall, accept it, look at this, and just face the music and just know that you got some work to do. So, regardless of where, unless you excellent and very good, you got some work to do. If you worse and very poor, you got some work to do, but don't feel bad about it. Everybody has to start somewhere. And if you've neglected to stay on top of your credit in the past, then don't beat yourself up. Just, know that you got work to do. That's all that really matters. You know what I'm saying? So your credit scores matter. These are the ranges that they can fall within here. So if you value having your own house, having your own home, I should say, whether you're renting or you're paying a mortgage, if you value having your own transportation, a car, if you value having good appliances, if you value being able to get jobs and all those kind of things, and get your credit on point. Stop sweeping it under the rug. Stop telling yourself it's not important. Stop refusing to even pull a credit report and get in the game. You know, as I shared before, no matter if you've been living your life paying everything with cash, the world doesn't care. Because if you need to go make a major purchase, they don't care how much cash you have. If you have no credit history, if you have no length of credit history, that's 15%. Since you have no credit history, you have no payment history, so that's 35%. Since you have no payment history, you don't have anything, any amounts that you owe. So 65, almost, yeah, 65% of your credit score is based upon your payment history and the amounts you owe. Wow, it's 80. So a whole 80%, roughly 80% here, 80% of your credit, payment history, amounts owed, and length of your credit history. So if you've always paid cash for everything, 80% of your credit score isn't able to be calculated, which means that you will have a very low score. Now, once again, this is a representation of your credit worthiness. Since you haven't established credit, then to the creditors, you're not a credit worthy. You're too high of a risk, no matter how much cash you have, and you won't qualify for loans. You won't be able to get apartments. You won't be able to get mortgages. You won't be able to get car loans. And if you are, the interest rate is going to be sky high at the end of the day. So credit isn't matter. I mean, credit is important, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? Your credit scores matter. Like you said, so understand the factors that go in to how your credit score gets calculated, your payment history, your amounts owed, your credit mix, the new credit, and your length of credit history. And understand the credit bureaus that you need to be tapped into. These are the places you're going to go to get a free to run your reports. Now, each one of these bureaus, every year, they allow you to have a free credit report. They allow you to pull a free credit report so you can actually see what is on your actually on your credit report. Now we'll do another video to break down credit, understanding credit reports. But for now, these are just the basics. These are just the fundamentals. So, like I said, the credit system is you, the bureaus, and the creditors. The bureaus being Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Your credit scores are important because it makes it easier. The higher your scores, the easier it will be for you to make major purchases throughout your life. And when you make those major purchases, make sure you pay your bills, make sure you don't overextend yourself too much, and make sure you do your best not to overextend yourself so much so you close credit accounts, because if you have to close the credit account, that actually has a negative impact on your score. But all in all, this is what it's all about. These are the fundamentals of credit. Your credit scores matter. So after you watch this video, hit up these. If you've never pulled your credit report, you don't know what your credit scores are, that's okay. First step is find out what's on your credit reports. So go here, Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, each individual bureau, and reach out to them so they can send you a report, and you'll be golden. Read that report. But you'll know how to read the report based on the next video. But all in all, your credit scores matter. So with that being said, like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below. Shoot me an email, billionairebelief@gmail.com. Obviously, make sure you like us on Facebook, facebook.com/billionairebelief. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram @BBWCN. But most importantly, if you kind of just want to get a gist of the 5 personal finance fundamentals for building wealth from scratch, make sure you click the link below so you can get access to the free video seminar, so you can get tapped in, so you can get the ball rolling. Building wealth, getting your finances on point, achieving your version of financial freedom. It's simple stuff, but that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. But the concepts are simple. So one concept at a time, we go simplify the game of wealth so that you can achieve your version of financial freedom and break your family cycle of poverty. This is your host, Dhane Diesil. It's a pleasure as always. You know, I love doing this. It's all for you. If you have any questions, once again, get at me. I'm looking forward to speaking to you. With that being said, make it a great day. Peace.